It was one of those cold, overcast afternoons in downtown Chicago, the kind where the sky hangs heavy and everything feels slightly more burdensome. People rushed past the city benches without a second glance, umbrellas bobbing, conversations muffled by wind and traffic. But on one worn-down bench near Grant Park, a young woman sat frozen, her fingers gripping the edge of the seat like it was the only thing keeping her grounded. Her chest heaved, eyes darting, breath shallow. To most passers-by, she may have just looked winded. But Dan knew better. He was a wiry man in his early 40s, with calloused hands and eyes that had seen their fair share of struggle. A second-hand stroller squeaked with every step beside him, carrying a giggling little girl with mismatched socks and chocolate on her cheeks. They were heading to a nearby shelter for dinner, another day in a long stretch of trying to get back on their feet. Job applications, a broken phone, a paper-thin sense of hope. His daily load. Still, when Dan saw the young woman, mid-20s, tear-streaked and trembling, he stopped. She didn't notice at first. Her world had shrunk to the thudding in her chest and the chaos in her mind. Can't breathe, can't move. What's happening to me? Dan squatted beside her. Hey, he said, voice rough but gentle. I'm not gonna touch you. You look like you might need someone. Her eyes flicked to his, startled and ashamed. She tried to shake her head, but he stayed. You're having a panic attack, he said calmly. I've had 'em. Breathe with me, okay? His daughter babbled in the stroller, legs kicking happily. Dan inhaled deeply, then exhaled loud and slow. In and out, like that. She tried. It was shaky, but she followed. That's it, he encouraged. You're safe. You're okay. Just a storm in the brain, that's all. Tears welled in her eyes. I don't know why. It just hit me. You don't need a reason, he said, easing onto the bench beside her but keeping a respectful distance. Sometimes life just piles up. Happens to the best of us. They sat quietly, breathing in unison as the city flowed around them. Her trembling eased, her hands unclenched, the tightness in her chest dissolved into a sob. I'm sorry, she whispered. You don't even know me. Dan chuckled softly. You don't owe anyone an apology for hurting. I'm Dan. That's my daughter, Rosie. Rosie waved a sticky hand and offered the woman a crushed cracker. She accepted it, blinking in surprise. I'm Emma, she said after a pause. I had a job interview, got there early, sat down, and then it hit me. The fear, like I was losing control. Dan nodded. First time it happened to me, I thought I was dying. After my wife passed, they started coming more often. I'd be walking to work, then, bam, shaking, gasping, no idea why. Emma looked at him, really looked. Not just a tired man with a stroller, but someone who understood. How do you deal with it? He sighed. Some days I don't. Some days Rosie's the only reason I get out of bed. But I've learned. You name the feeling, you breathe through it, and you remind yourself, it'll pass, even when it feels like it won't. Emma wiped her cheeks. I didn't think anyone would notice. Or care. Dan gave a soft smile. You'd be surprised who's watching. Rosie started fussing, and Dan pulled a juice box from his coat. Emma stood. I should let you go. Dan shook his head. This was part of my day, too, helping someone. It reminds me I'm still human. Emma hesitated. I don't have much, but can I buy you both lunch? Something warm? Dan looked at her, torn, pride warring with reality. Then he nodded. That'd be real kind of you. They walked to a nearby diner. Rosie clapped when her grilled cheese arrived. Dan shared stories of his days as a carpenter, before the layoffs, the accident, the slow unraveling. Emma talked, too, about an estranged family, a painful breakup, the gnawing fear of failure. They listened, really listened. Something passed between them, an unspoken connection, born from shared scars. When they stepped back into the cold, Dan looked at her with quiet conviction. "You'll be okay, Emma. You made it through this. And if it hits again, remember this bench, this breath." Emma hugged him. "Thank you for seeing me, for staying." He patted her back. "We all need someone, kid. Doesn't matter how little we've got, kindness is free." Weeks passed. Emma got the job. She often walked past that bench, always pausing with a smile. One day she brought 2 coffees and waited, and Dan appeared. Same stroller, same soft smile. They met again, then again. Emma helped Dan with his resume, bought Rosie socks, introduced them to a friend renting a room. Dan fixed her leaky sink, babysat during her shifts, and told stories that made her laugh when life felt too heavy. What they built wasn't charity, it was family, forged in a moment of raw humanity. A